gets ready. The grand final in Western Australia for the first time.
Two best teams of 2021 are here. History to be made in the West. Petrarca within range off a step. Christian goes back. Missed the mark, did Williamson. The goal is there for French. It's falling the way of the Demons.
French over the back. Recovers the goal. He kicks it.
Petrarca. Oh wow. How good is that? Handball to Oliver. Streaming through. Bang. Bang, bang, bang.
Every heart is beating true and blue for the red and blue. After 57 long years, the Demons are premiers in 2021. Delirious fans and players. Melbourne have won.
It's a grand old flag, it's a high flying flag, it's the emblem for me and for you.
Hello and welcome to a special presentation celebrating Melbourne's drought-breaking 2021 Premiership season. Well, like 2020, it was another tough year, the AFL and its clubs navigating their way through another COVID-19 plagued season. There were challenges for all teams, long trips on the road, away from family, stints in quarantine, but somehow the competition survived and the resilience of the players shone through. And when it comes to challenges and adversity, there's certainly one club and one fan base that has had their resilience truly tested over a long period of time. The Melbourne Football Club. From false dawns to the depths of football despair and back again, this club has endured. But finally, after 57 years, the D's saluted with their long-awaited 13th VFL-AFL flag. We're going to take an in-depth look at Melbourne's road to the 2021 Premiership. And who better to help me reflect? They're one of their Premiership heroes in Jack Viney. Jack, it's so great to have you here.
Thanks, Nat. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been almost 2 weeks from the game now, and I haven't had a good chance to sit back and take it all in. So I'm looking forward to reflecting on what was a pretty special season.
And you got your friend there.
Got my buddy here.
Buddy. I mean, sitting here right now, can you believe you're a Premiership player, or is it still a little bit surreal?
Yeah, it's still surreal, and like I said, I'm really excited to reflect on this season because it's been quite a whirlwind few weeks. You know, the celebrations and then coming back home from Perth and, you know, coming back into lockdown. So it's I haven't really sat still just yet, and I haven't re-watched any footage, haven't seen the game again. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to taking this time to, take a step back and, reflect upon.
Well, I want to take you back to September 25. The siren sounds. What's the overwhelming emotion that washes over you at that moment?
I just tried to grab the closest person next to me.
Who was that?
I can't remember. There was like a group already formed, and I just jumped on the pack, and then we quickly got dragged to the ground. And then I remember the crowd erupting again, and I realised that was Tom McDonald who was having a set shot. And then after that, it was just, go around. I saw, turned my head and saw there was a pretty devastated Western Bulldogs player, and then it was to, go around and shake their hands and then, yeah. I'm
sure it's all a bit of a blur, really.
It is. I haven't even thought back to, how it all unfolded and, after the siren, what happened. But, it was just an overwhelming sense of joy, and you try and grab your closest teammate and hug. And then there was 20 teammates all on the ground hugging.
I love it. Now, your first game of AFL was all the way back in 2013, round one. You got beaten by 79 points the week after. You lost to Essendon by, I think it was 148 points, and then a 94-point loss the week after. And now you sit here. I mean, it was a really tough introduction for you, your football life. How do you reflect back on those days to now?
Yeah, the start of my career, we were, very poor and, the laughing stock of the competition. When I got drafted, I was aware of that. I think the year before I got drafted, we got beaten by almost 200 points by Geelong, in Geelong. we'd been through multiple coaches in such a short space of time. So I was quite aware of what I was getting myself into, but I wanted to be part of the change. I had those deep roots and connections with the football club, and other people may have said, it's going to be a bit too hard, and you want to go to a club that is already looking, it's on the right path to success, but something about the challenge. Even just being an 18-year-old, I wanted to be part of that change, and then go through my first pre-season, and then into my first season was a bit of a shock to the system. I hadn't experienced the media scrutiny and the real passion from the fans at that stage of my career, and to lose by 84 points, and then in 148 points, and then 94 points. I was coming off the ground with supporters throwing their scarves at us, and walking into the change rooms, and I'm seeing my grown teammates crying. That's how much of an impact it had on them. Luckily, I was quite oblivious because I was young. I was playing AFL football, which had been my dream. So I was kind of a bittersweet. I'm getting to play on the MCG and play in front of Sam Mitchell and Joe Watson. People I'd aspired to aspired to be like my whole childhood. But then to be getting beaten by such large margins was, pretty scary.
You must have an immense sense of pride now as well, like given all that you'd endured in your career and then getting to this point. Are you really proud with not what you just individually, but the club has managed to achieve?
Yeah, definitely. I think you couldn't, from a fulfilment point of view, you couldn't, write a better story. I really do feel like we were at the bottom. Even before I got there, like the year before, like I mentioned, we got beaten by almost 200 points, which was some kind of record in the club's in the AFL's history. My first year we won 2 games for a season, which I look back on now, and I can't even fathom that how poor we were. So to then come full circle and to have become the premiership, the premiers in the 2021 season, so much fulfilment, and so glad that at that young age I made the decision to come to the football club and go through all those hard times.
If we look back at how many final series Melbourne had made in the last decade heading into the 2021 season, it was only Gold Coast that had less appearances. As a group at the start of 2021, what were your own expectations internally?
Yeah, at the start of the year, we really set our expectations high, and I remember having kind of like this at the start of the year when you get the team together, you talk about your values, how you want to set the year up, how you want to be remembered. Every team does that, but when we did ours, I remember there being, it wasn't we just want to be top 4 or we want to play finals. It was kind of like, no, we're sick of just striving to make finals and just missing out. It was, no, we want to go all the way. We want to be the best, and we want to win the Premiership Cup. So, very early on in our pre-season this year, it was our eyes set on winning this cup. And I think Goody even came out publicly with those expectations, which I'm sure shocked a few in the media and in the public. But that's really what our intentions were on. Was coming, number one.
Well, let's listen to Simon Goodwin. This was a pre-season interview he did with Riley Beveridge at afl.com.au.
How far away do you think the group is from being at that level again and being able to challenge in September again?
Not far at all. As I said last year, I sat here and I said the foundations have been laid as a club over a period of time now. I stand by that. And our expectations are a lot higher. We don't want to just play finals. We want to play significant finals and win significant finals. And, I sit here with great empathy for our footy club and our supporters. It's been a long time, 1964. But we need to put ourselves into a top 4 position to give ourselves the best chance to win the ultimate. And that's what we're setting out to do.
a lot of the talk around Simon Goodwin heading into the season was that he was the coach most under pressure, given you hadn't made finals the last 2 years. He talked about post-grand final that the job really got to him at the end of 2019. Did you see a shift in him at all heading into this season?
Yeah, I didn't see a great shift. You know, I saw a coach who had, you know, reflected on the previous year, had some strong feedback and learned a few things about, you know, himself, and then came to work the next season wanting to better himself. You know, that's what I've loved about Goody since he started at the football club, is he's always wanted to become better, you know, get a better version of himself, and you know, I just saw him continuing on that path in 2021.
All right, it's time now to rewind the clock and take a look back at season 2021 and revisit just how this amazing year unfolded for the Demons. It began all the way back on March 20 with the red and blue faithful back at the home of football.
Melbourne opened its 2021 account hosting Fremantle at the MCG. The Dockers' wastefulness in front of goal and Melbourne's feverish forward pressure saw the Demons shoot to a 24-point lead by the first change.
Now Jackson delays the hand pass nicely. Langdon, check side. Is he good enough? Oh, my word, he is!
Stephen May and Jake Lever worked in tandem down back to ensure Fremantle's threat remained at a minimum.
There, oh, it's Lever again.
The class of Christian Petrarca helped keep the Dockers at arm's length.
Underground hand pass, Petrarca. Bouncing ball, Petrarca!
Tom McDonald and Bailey Fritsch were on song, both chiming in with timely goals.
Oh, Fritsch! Jackie Chan style out of mid-air.
Fremantle was unable to overcome the Demons in the final quarter.
Chance now for Jordan, goes short cleverly. Glow goal!
The 22-point victory, their first round 1 win in 4 seasons. It was an emotional prelude to Melbourne's round 2 clash with St Kilda, with both clubs paying tribute to Saints legend Danny Frawley. The Demons began strongly, with Jack Viney kicking 2 first-quarter goals to give his side the ascendancy.
So Viney looking for his second and the Demons' third. He delivers. Melbourne by 13.
5 consecutive majors during the second and third quarters put a wedge between the teams.
Well, Sparrow, chance still for the Demons. Stop, prop, 5. Can you believe it? Melbourne are in front.
Jack Steele helped drag the Saints back into the contest briefly, but the D's steadied.
Spargo, 40 metres out, deadly accurate.
With live wire forward Keziah Pickett showing flashes of brilliance.
Keziah Pickett, look at the moves, look at the twist, look at the turn, Kozzy!
While goals to Ed Langdon and Charlie Spargo kept the Saints at bay.
Langdon just cruises in, kicks the easiest goal of his life.
The hard work of Clayton Oliver, Christian Salem and Christian Petrarca were instrumental in the 18-point victory. Melbourne conceded 3 of the first 4 goals in its round 3 clash against GWS, before eventually finding its groove and making inroads on the scoreboard.
Petrarca by himself, he's got space, he'll play on.
Kozzy Pickett kicked the first of his 4 goals for the match, continuing his eye-catching start to the year, as the Demons grabbed control of the game.
Pickett's in the vicinity, he slides in, he mops it up, he spins and he kicks a goal! Oh, Kozzy Pickett!
GWS star Toby Green helped reduce the buffer to 6 points in the final quarter, but Melbourne settled, booting 5 consecutive goals.
Here goes Kozzy again for another one, Kozzy Pickett, he does it every week.
Captain Max Gawn headed the D's contenders for best of field, which also included Pickett, Jack Viney, Christian Petrarca, Angus Brayshaw and Ed Langdon. The 34-point victory making it 3 in a row to start the season, prompting a surge of confidence at the club. Tough conditions greeted Melbourne and Geelong for their round 4 clash at the MCG. Heavy rain led to a scrappy first half, but Bailey Fritsch was able to break the game open.
McDonald go over the top to Bailey Fritsch, he should mark and he does, he plays on, Melksham was going to go but left it to Fritsch.
The young forward had 3 first-half goals of his own. But he wasn't alone. Christian Petrarca gave the D's a 23-point buffer heading into the main break.
Fritsch again. He's kicked all of Melbourne's goals in this quarter. Gives it to Petrarca. Round the corner. He's kicked the couple on the siren sounds. Huge goal for the Demons.
Adam Tomlinson locked down Tom Hawkins, but the Cats found other avenues to goal to slash the deficit from 30 points to just 12.
Smith inside 50. Kick the last for the Cats. Can he kick another? It's a beauty.
The heavens opened in the final quarter, and as had been the case earlier, it was Melbourne who adjusted better to the conditions.
Spargo under pressure there. Over the top to Melksham. And now the goal. That just about gets it done.
What eventuated was a 25-point win over the 2020 runners-up. Petrarca, Clayton Oliver and Jack Viney relished the wet conditions, while Bailey Fritsch's 4 goals proved the difference. Hawthorn got the jump on Melbourne in their round 5 clash at the MCG.
Bruce going to get another one. Hawks on a mini tear.
The Demons did themselves no favours in front of goal and trailed by 10 points at the first break. Second quarter goals from Jake Melksham and Ed Langdon helped cut the Hawks' lead to 2 points by half-time.
Point blank range. And Langdon gets his second.
Christian Petrarca got his side moving in the third term,
Petrarca extracts.
while Tom McDonald chipped in with twin majors to snatch a 10-point lead with a quarter to play.
Jackson just needs to support him or take the mark himself. And the goal is there.
Max Gawn asserted his ruck dominance in a best-of-field display, his long bomb midway through the final term breaking Hawthorn's resistance.
Here we go. Look at Big Max.
The Demons piled on the next 6 goals to run out 50-point winners.
Taken away by Petrarca, having said all of that. Here he is. That's typical Petrarca.
5-0 for the Melbourne fans to enjoy.
Ed Langdon finished with 3 goals, while Petrarca, McDonald, Clayton Oliver and Christian Salem were among the Demons' best.
Well, you couldn't ask for a better start to a season. 5 games, 5 wins. The vibe at the club must have been fantastic. But talk me through how much the early foundation, I guess, helped to cement the team's belief in the plans for 2021.
Yeah, it was a great reward for effort. You know, we'd made some serious inroads in the off-season about, trying to change the culture of the football club. And then just to get a couple of wins on the board. And we were challenged in most of those games, but the group's resolved to stay calm, reset at the major break or whenever it was, and then to come, we finished strong most of those games. It did really build strong confidence within the group that, we're a really good side, and we just need to keep on that path, and anything could be possible.
In particular, that round 4 win against the Cats, because they were genuine premiership contenders. They'd been the grand finalists the year before. I mean, that must have been massive.
Yeah, exactly right, Nat. And like I said, we were challenged in that game where they came pretty close, but just the group's ability to stay calm under pressure, which we, in previous years gone by, we'd let teams, get 5, 6, 7 goals in a row, but, this year we were able to reset much quicker and, get the momentum back our way, and we were the ones that end up, finishing games off really strongly. So it just continued to build, really, strong confidence within the group.
Now, the coach's job is to keep the players focused. It's to inspire and motivate. And Simon Goodwin found a lot of different ways, and he drew on other sports to find inspiration and motivation. This is him after the win over the Hawks, just quoting a little bit of Andre Agassi.
Yeah, look, we've worked really hard at resetting ourselves, and even this week we learn off everyone that we can, and we got a clip from Andre Agassi that spoke about his ability to reset after every point, and we're no different as a footy club, whether it's a game, whether it's a quarter, whether it's a contest. Our ability to reset in the moment and keep playing is really important to us, and there's going to be periods of the game where we don't have, where we're having entry, we don't score, we're missing shots at goal, that we just got to keep playing the way that we know we can and keep resetting and finding a way forward, and I thought the players today did that really well.
Now, I often wonder, how much do players actually take in during the quarter-time huddles, pre-game address? Because I know the coaches spend a lot of time on this sometimes, pulling out quotes from Andre Agassi. Do you actually remember that?
I don't think the coaches realise we probably don't take in as much as they think we do at those breaks. But how Goody loves, using other sports, any other, source of inspiration. He's very good at bringing that to the group and sparking little bits of creativity and inspiration amongst us.
Now, one of the trademarks of the D's, of course, in 2021 was your defence. And I know it's a team effort, but just to reel off some of those names, May, Lever, Salem, we had Petty as well after Tomlinson went down, Hunt, Bowie. What made this group so hard to beat?
I think it was, it's the system, and I don't want to take anything away from, the calibre of players we have down there, because they were stars all year and they're terrific players. But the defensive system, Troy Traplin at the football club, implemented and worked on over many years. And the boys' execution of that system, they became so predictable to one another. They knew exactly what they were going to do before they did it, and it just ended up with the result we did. And credit to them. They were strong throughout the whole season. It was one of our biggest strengths.
I want to talk about the youngsters, because the 2019 NAB AFL draft, you got a pretty good hand there. You had Luke Jackson at number 3, Cozzy Pickett went at 12, and then Trent Rivers at pick 32. They showed so much improvement, and Cozzy just provided us with endless highlights. Were you surprised how quickly they've all come on?
Yeah, for them to come in their second year and have the impact they've had, it's quite phenomenal. So, all the work they've done on themselves and, with the coaches, it's been, a good reward for effort, that's for sure, because they've come in and played all major roles for the football club this season.
Do they spark you, those young guys coming through? I mean, you're not an old player, but do they give you a bit of a spark?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They've all got flair, and, obviously Cozzy Pickett, he's got the X factor, but you see when Luke Jackson comes into the midfield, more often than not, he's sparking some kind of energy within us all, and Trent Rivers down back's the exact same. So all three of them, bring something special and unique to the football group, and I'm very thankful to have them as my teammates.
And then you've got Max Gawn, the skipper. I mean, I think in those first few rounds, from 3 to 5, he polled 7 Brownlow votes. Just talk me through the impact and the influence, what is like on and off the field. Just give us some insight there.
Yeah, Max just doing, the captain stuff in the early part of the season, playing like a big man, getting his hands on the football, and, his contested marking. I think he would have been best contested mark in the competition. So, that kind of stuff on a football field really lifts your teammates. So he was phenomenal in that. And then just his balance off field as well, having really strong relationships with the whole playing group, and also, driving the standards very high. So he has that great balance off the field as a leader, and then steps up and puts his body on the line when we need him in games.
All right, it's time now to look at the next set of challenges for Melbourne. Among them were tough trips to Tasmania and Adelaide Oval, but before they set off, the Red Hot Demons faced one of the toughest matchups in football, reigning premiers Richmond on Anzac Eve.
It was a massive night at the G for Melbourne's battle with Richmond in round 6, with favourite son Nathan Jones celebrating game 300. The Demons had some early nerves, but they stayed in touch with the reigning premiers in the first quarter.
Salem's a chance from the open goal square.
Christian Salem continued his good form off half-back. Christian Petrarca and Clayton Oliver lifted their output after quarter time. And the key forwards were the beneficiaries.
Starts right, draws back, that's spot on.
Melbourne increased its pressure in the second term, booting 4 unanswered goals to take a 17-point lead into half-time. Picking up where they left off, the D's relentless pressure overwhelmed the Tigers, a side renowned for the same attribute.
Big Jackson's going to soccer him through, he's got 2.
A string of 7 straight goals put the result safely in their keeping. A 5-goal lead at three-quarter time extended to 6 by the final siren. Having not started a season 6-0 since 1965, the Demons silenced their critics with a history-making win over the reigning premiers. Melbourne flew to Hobart in round 7 to take on North Melbourne. In the opening term, both sides traded blows, with the Kangaroos taking a slender lead into the first break.
Atley needs to make the most of it. What a dynamic start for the Roos.
Extending their margin in the second term, it looked like an upset was on the cards.
Simpkin to turn the heat up on Melbourne, and he has done exactly that.
Not to be intimidated though, the undefeated Demons rolled up their sleeves after the main break.
Pickett kept it alive. Fritz the opportunity. Summed it up perfectly.
Luke Jackson and Christian Salem helped swing the momentum, while Bailey Fritsch and Cozzy Pickett cashed in to wrestle a 13-point advantage at three-quarter time.
Petrarca demanded Brown to come at him. Mackay saw him off. Here's Cozzy. It's a different game when he's involved.
The D's class shone through in the last quarter. An injury to defender Adam Tomlinson, the only sour note in a 30-point victory. Melbourne had a round 8 date with Sydney at the MCG, but it was the visiting team who sprung out of the blocks.
Ground ball to be won. McInerney got booted ball. He kicked the first.
As the first quarter wore on, the Demons grabbed the ascendancy.
Spargo just got the kick away. Trademark, long run, second game for the Demons.
And continued the trajectory into the second term.
To the goal square, Robbie Fox, the last man back. McDonald did really well. Can he pick it up? Flicked it back. Petrarca won't miss from there.
Christian Petrarca continued his fine season, and if it weren't for inaccuracy, Melbourne's 11-point halftime lead could have been far greater. 3 goals apiece in the third quarter kept the game in the balance.
Well played, McDonald. Got out of a tight situation. Left foot snap coming up. First goal, McDonald.
The Swans cut the margin to just 4 points at the start of the final term.
Sinclair, he owes the one, and he gets it.
An exchange of goals made for an exciting final stanza before Tom McDonald put the final nail in the Swans' coffin.
Could it be the match winner? He's got it.
He and Ben Brown shared 7 goals, while Clayton Oliver, James Jordan and James Harms were impressive in the 9-point win. Tom McDonald was at the centre of the action when Melbourne faced Carlton at the MCG in round 9.
Beautiful. Right through the middle.
The rejuvenated forward kicked all 3 of his majors in a one-sided period in which the Demons put on 6 of 7 goals either side of quarter time.
He takes the space and does it all himself.
It turned an early 2-goal deficit into a 19-point lead by the latter stages of the first half. Jake Lever and Stephen May repelled numerous offensive thrusts from the Blues, combining for 9 marks and 15 intercepts.
May always best placed.
In rain-affected conditions, the D's small forwards joined the party.
Fritsch around the corner. Got his third.
While Bailey Fritsch and Ed Langdon extended the lead to 31 points.
Cozzy Pickett dribbles up, home.
Clayton Oliver and Christian Petrarca proved dominant forces in the 26-point victory, earning Melbourne its first 9-0 start in 65 years. In search of its 10th consecutive win, Melbourne travelled to Adelaide to take on the Crows in round 10. After an even start, the Demons got on top with 3 goals in swift succession.
He kicks a wonderful, long goal.
But just when they looked down and out, the Crows bounced back before quarter time to trail by just 5 points.
And Jimmy looks to make it 2 in 2 minutes.
After Bailey Fritsch kicked the first goal of the second term, the remainder of the half proved an arm wrestle, with James Harms levelling the scores at the main break.
And that's beautifully executed, just what Melbourne needed.
Under assault from the Crows in the third term, Christian Petrarca was able to stem the bleeding as the contest once again evened up.
You've seen him now! Run, baby, run!
The D's grabbed a handy lead in a tense final term,
Clayton Oliver! What a start!
but with the game on the line, Adelaide kicked the last 3 goals to seal a win by the slimmest of margins.
What an upset!
so much to unpack here, Jack. First, we'll go back to that significant night and the result, that Anzac Eve game against the Tigers. What was really impressive, I think, from everyone watching on was that relentless pressure. What are your memories from this win?
Yeah, I remember the Richmond coming out absolutely firing.
Yeah.
Their pressure was through the roof. We were making so many mistakes in the first quarter, and it didn't look in good shape. But you know, like I've mentioned, this is the group's ability to be able to kind of compose themselves when they had the chance, and to continue to you know, forge ahead, try and get the game back on our terms, and then you know that our pressure, particularly up forward, all year was strong, and then they just grinded away at them, and they started to shine through, and you know, ended up getting a good win against the reigning premiers.
It was fantastic, but a big night for the club too, because you're celebrating Nathan Jones's 300th game. Just put into words what he means to the Melbourne Football Club. Yeah, it was such a honour to share you know, Jonesy's 300th with him on Anzac Eve game. He's been a absolute light of the football club for so many years. The club's been through some dark times, but supporters and people, AFL fans, are just has something to look forward to when watching the D's in Jonesy. So he's meant so much to the football club, and it was great to see him play his 300th in a big game. So 1 week you're celebrating Jonesy's 300th. The following week you're consoling a teammate in Adam Tomlinson, who unfortunately ruptures his ACL in this game against North Melbourne. What impact did that news have on the group? Yeah, it was shattering. You know, Tomo is such a great teammate, a great person, and obviously he played such an important role for us down back earlier in the season. It was in terrific form. But everyone was more shattered for just Adam. Doing an ACL injury is one of the worst things you can do in AFL football. So everyone was just so shattered for Adam, because we knew he had such a, he was going to miss out for the rest of the season, and had such a big recovery in front of him. And around that same time, you had issues with a toe injury, and initially I think you were slated just to miss a couple of weeks, but we didn't end up seeing you until I think it was round 15 in the end. What was that period like for you? Yeah, it was really challenging. I had some stress issues with my feet, which was nothing new to me. It had been kind of going on for a few years, and I think it was probably one of the toughest periods in my career. I've been in this position a few times now, and it was fully over. I think some of the off-leg sessions I was doing in rehab, motivation was an all-time low, but the team was going so well. It was what really got me going, knowing that there's finals at the end of the year to look forward to, and try and get myself as fit as possible. And the reason that it took a few extra weeks, maybe a bit longer than we'd hoped or thought, was we just didn't want to risk it. I would hate to have come back and the foot not have been 100%, and then I end up getting re-injuring it and missing the important the fun stuff of the season. So we really took a couple of weeks there where it was touch and go, but we just made the call to say we'll get it right, and ensure that I'm there for finals and the back end of the season. Well, lucky you did. Yeah. Now, so you missed round 7, but the big name recruit in Ben Brown gets his turn, and he played a really good couple of games. I think it was 5 goals in 2 games. He had an immediate impact. What, I guess, difference did he make to the forward line structure? He's been enormous for the team this year. He's looked like he's about to kick a bag, but even when he's not kicking goals, just the contest he provides for us. For our small forwards, it's a key to our forward system, and he creates a lot more goals than just what he kicks himself. So he's been an awesome pickup, a great person, and terrific work ethic. He came to the football club, had some injuries with his knee, had to fight his way back into the team, and even when there was the real tussle between him and Sam Wiedemann for a spot in the team, he was never, his attitude was top notch, and he just went about trying to be the best version of himself and continue to grow every session. So it was a pleasure to watch during that period. So you're undefeated after 9 rounds, and then you come up against the Wooden Spooners from 2020 in the Adelaide Crows. it was a loss that I think surprised many. Just talk me through, I guess, what the lessons were from this loss. You obviously weren't out there, but what did the group take away from this one?
Yeah, I think it was a great reminder that every team in the competition is dangerous. You know, you can't take any team lightly. Not that we took Adelaide lightly, but it was just a reminder that every team can beat you on, you know, if you don't come with your best or close to your best, every team's lethal and they can beat you on a good day. So, you know, that particular day, the defensive side of our game wasn't there, and we tried playing, you know, offense v offense against a team that was, you know, young, enthusiastic, and could score quickly, and it bit us in the backside in the end.
All right, let's continue the journey at the halfway mark of the season. The D's are 9 wins, 1 loss, but they're not the only ones. The top of the table Bulldogs have also suffered just the 1 defeat, setting the scene for a Friday night showdown with top spot up for grabs.
Melbourne's round 11 clash with the Western Bulldogs was worthy of blockbuster status, but the stands were empty thanks to another COVID lockdown. The Demons were undeterred and ready for a dogfight. James Harms set the tone in the opening minute.
Perfect start. That's it for the Demons.
Another 5 goals set up a 27-point lead at the first break. Despite being challenged in the second quarter, Tom McDonald's consecutive goals saw his team take a 19-point lead into the main break.
McDonald gets his second.
The Bulldogs dug in their claws as a third-quarter arm wrestle unfolded, but 2 majors from Sam Wiedemann extended the margin to 36 points with a quarter remaining.
And he's got the turn.
It proved a bridge too far for the Bulldogs, with standout performances from Clayton Oliver, Stephen May and Jake Lever in defence, complemented by McDonald and Bailey Fritsch up forward, on the way to a 28-point win. The Demons faced another big test in round 12 in the form of the rejuvenated Brisbane Lions at Giants Stadium in Sydney. Skipper Max Gawn played rover to give his team an early lead.
Big Maxi sticks it through.
But the Lions flexed their muscles, kicking the next 3 goals to take control. And they looked on their way to victory with a 20-point half-time lead.
And that is beautiful.
Christian Petrarca had other ideas. The star-on baller lifting his team when it needed him most.
Petrarca beautifully off the back and a neat kick as well.
Clayton Oliver sprung to life in the second half, bringing into the game Cozzy Pickett and Tom McDonald, who'd been starved of scoring opportunities in the first half.
McDonald kick around the corner.
The Demons kicked 9 of the last 12 goals to overwhelm the Lions by 22 points, cementing themselves as premiership favourites. Emotions were running high ahead of Melbourne's round 13 clash with Collingwood at the SCG, Nathan Buckley's final match in charge of the Magpies. In a tight opening term, the D's took a slender lead into quarter time.
D's have finally got their second.
Clayton Oliver extended the margin early in the second term
Oliver around the corner.
before the Pies responded with 4 consecutive goals to seize control at the main break. Twin Towers' Max Gawn and Luke Jackson launched a resurgence in the third quarter, putting the Demons within a goal going into the final term.
Demons fans around the country are happy.
But another momentum shift allowed Collingwood to pull away by 17 points and send off their favourite son in style.
Nathan Buckley, he goes out a winner.
Melbourne had 12 days to stew on the Collingwood defeat during its mid-season break, before facing an improved Essendon side that had won 4 of its past 5 games. Scoring was at a premium at the MCG, with James Harms finally registering the first goal at the 17-minute mark of the opening term.
First goal of Saturday night footy.
The Demons' next major wouldn't arrive for more than a quarter.
The big man Jackson can't miss from there, and he doesn't.
Not that it mattered too much. Their rock-solid backline, paired with clearance machine Clayton Oliver, helped keep the Bombers at bay. In a tight second half, Melbourne finally made its move, flexing its muscle to kick 6 of the next 7 goals.
Outrun by Spargo over the shoulder. Umpire does not move.
2 goals apiece from James Jordan and Christian Petrarca, as well as Tom McDonald's inventiveness on the goal line, led to an 11-point win.
So at the end of round 15, the D's are on top of the ladder with 12 wins and 2 losses. I'll start with that Bulldogs clash back in round 11 because you had 12 days to stew on that loss after Adelaide. There was so much drama in the lead up with the Dogs having to isolate. I think the D's had to isolate as well, and you were only cleared to play on the Friday. Do you remember the bizarre lead up to that game?
No, I don't remember, too clearly the lead up to this game, but obviously it was such a big clash being the two, top teams in the competition. But, I think it was just the coaches the whole year long were so great at keeping us focused, keeping us calm. So we really didn't feel that build up and hype. Like there was our own expectations knowing we were coming up against Western Bulldogs. But in terms of the not hysteria, but the hype externally around this game, the coaches kept everything on task. What our focuses were really clear, and I think that's just why I don't remember it as well. The lead up, because it just felt like a normal week.
Well, yeah, and then you have no crowds, which is so deflating for everyone involved when it's a top of the table clash. Jake Lever in that game, though, was incredible. 13 intercept possessions. And then down the other end, you had Sam Wiedemann. He kicked 2 goals in 2 minutes as well. And I think at this stage, Simon Goodwood's still trying to find the best, structure when it came to the forward line and that mix. And we see Sam there. I mean, obviously didn't get to play towards the latter part of the season, but he's still such an important part of your future. Yeah,
absolutely. I think, just touching on Jake Lever and the defence was what really stood out for me in this game against the Doggies. We made them shift the ball a lot. Angus Brayshaw was huge with a couple of big spoils on the wing. So the defence is what really provided the opportunity for the likes of Sam and our forwards to kick goals. But yeah, Sam, he's such a talent and definitely part of our team, future team. It's just tough for spots, and the team playing so well. It's just it's unfortunate and. He's been so good this year. Played in Super in the VFL. He'll be in the team very soon, that's for sure.
That game against the Lions, you found yourselves 20 points down, and that was a theme, we've mentioned it already, finding yourselves down and managed to work your way back in and reset. You never ride off the Ds. That's what we learnt in 2021. Tom McDonald as well, he really sparked you guys into action after the main break. He had 9 touches. All of them were score involvements. When you look at his whole season, it's just been a remarkable revival, hasn't it? Because he was nearly on the trade table at the end of last year. We weren't sure if he was going to play senior footy this year, but he managed to turn it around and he was so integral in that early part of the season especially. Yeah,
absolutely. Tommy had a really tough year last year and I'm sure he wanted to prove a few things to himself and probably a few others, a few external people as well. Over the off-season and pre-season, he was probably the best on ground in terms of training, in my eyes. So, it's no coincidence he comes and plays a terrific season and has been a huge part of the team's success this year.
And kicks a ridiculous goal over his head. I don't even know how he did that on the goal line.
It's impressive. I like that one.
Well, it's hard to stay at the peak of your powers for the whole season, and this next little patch of form definitely had the long-suffering Demons faithful a little concerned. Let's take a look.
An ice-cold July afternoon at the MCG was symbolic of Melbourne's performance against the GWS Giants in round 16.
He's run down from behind it again. It's Perryman and the Giants that stand up.
Led by Josh Kelly, Tim Taranto and Toby Green, the Giants kicked out to a 4-goal lead approaching half-time.
Toby to get the Giants underway.
In the second half, Christian Petrarca and the high-flying Bailey Fritsch mustered a comeback from the Demons.
Fritsch goes on the ball!
18 inside 50s in the final term provided plenty of forward supply, but the Demons were unable to convert on the scoreboard as the Giants produced a massive upset.
It's a famous win for the Giants!
Melbourne's final score of just 55 points was its lowest of the season and saw it slip from top spot on the ladder for the first time since round 10. Melbourne responded to its critics in emphatic fashion against Port Adelaide in round 17. thanks largely to the performance of Christian Petrarca. The midfielder was unstoppable with 33 disposals and 3 goals.
Pick-up is superb. On the right, dive from Amon. I think he's kicked a goal.
A bone-crunching tackle on Sam Powell-Pepper in the second quarter, setting the standard for his teammates.
Look out, Poke is gone.
3 goal hauls from Cozzy Pickett and Tom McDonald sealed the deal for the D's.
Onto the right boot. Maybe this time it curls and curls and curls through.
Who dismantled their fellow premiership contenders.
Cozzy Pickett, bang!
It was just their 3rd successful outing against Port Adelaide on the road since 2000. What started as a leisurely cruise ended as a wild ride for Melbourne in its round 18 clash with second bottom placed Hawthorn at the MCG. Jaden Hunt's weaving solo effort opened proceedings, and a pair of second quarter majors to Bailey Fritsch made it 6 of the opening 8 goals to the Demons.
Turns, delivers and goals.
A regulation victory seemed on the cards, but the Hawks had other ideas, clawing their way back into the contest.
Off to Bruce for 3 in a row.
It took some class from Cozzy Pickett to give the edge back to the D's halfway through the final term.
Cozzy Pickett senses a moment. Can Cozzy get his second goal? You bet he can.
A couple of missed opportunities left the door ajar for Hawthorn, and veteran Luke Bruce accepted the invitation, levelling the scores with 41 seconds on the clock. The scoreboard remained unchanged at the final siren, Melbourne's first draw since 2011. Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs squared off in a top-of-the-table clash for a second time in round 19. A rain-soaked MCG highlighted the importance of clean disposal, which Christian Petrarca demonstrated with ease. Having managed just 2 goals 7 to half-time, the D's turned the tables with 7 goals 2 from their next 9 opportunities. When Ben Brown bobbed up late in the match, it was game on.
He's got it. Back within 4.
But the Bulldogs midfield had the final say as the D's went down by 20 points.
Bontempelli won't miss. And that is a well-earned victory for the Western Bulldogs.
So that 4-game stretch produced just the 1 win, and that came against the Power. Your 3rd game back from injury. And once again, the D's tackling pressure was on show. How important was it to get the 4 points there after a pretty disappointing performance against the Giants the week before? But as we know, the media had kind of jumped on board and written you guys off once again.
Yeah, no, like I said about the internal stuff, whatever was said externally, we were really focused, and we knew Port was such a dangerous team, particularly at Adelaide Oval. So, we really prepared, super well for this game, and like the tackling pressure was at its best, and it was just such a good team performance. Everyone was clicking, and it ended up being a full 4-quarter. A really strong effort from the group.
I mean, if we look at your record against the top 6 sides at this point, it's impeccable. 5-0. Every time you beat one of those teams, I'm sure the belief and the confidence really continued to grow. You said that everyone's clicking out there on the field. Is it hard at that point not to kind of let your mind wander about what could be come September?
Oh, I think, everyone, you can't help but, every now and then get a little bit carried away and start thinking about what ifs. But I think one of our strengths this year was just every week keeping things on task. Whether it was a win or a loss, we reviewed and prepared for a game the same. And we kept everything really simple. The coaches kept things really simple, and every week seemed like its own challenge. So it was hard to get carried away when you come up against Port Adelaide, coming up against Western Bulldogs next week, and then you lose against the Crows and Collingwood and GWS, these kind of games. So we always found little challenges throughout the season that really kept us on task and stopped us from drifting too far down the track.
What about that draw with the Hawks? Because it was your first draw in your career. Was that just a bizarre feeling when the siren went?
It was so bizarre, and it was quite an eerie feeling. There was no crowd there either, so you could hear a pin drop in the stadium. It was it was one of the weirdest feelings post-game I've felt in my career.
Yeah, because you can see the players. No one really knows what to do. Like, it's, you know, Max Gawn, they're just going, what just happened?
Yeah, that was literally, that was how I was feeling as well, was I don't know what just happened, how to react to this result. It was such a weird feeling.
And then you play the Dogs again in round 19. They turn the tables on you this time. What did you take away from this game?
Yeah, we came away from this game feeling pretty confident.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but we felt like our game was in pretty good shape. Maybe we missed some opportunities in front of goal, but you know, coming away from the game, we thought we were in really good shape still. We weren't worried, and we were confident we'd come up against Doggies later in the season. Funny enough, it was in the granny, but we knew we'd face off against them again. And would be ready and prepared from the next challenge.
Well, time now to wind the clock back to the final few rounds of the 2021 home and away season now, as the D's reset and reminded the competition just why they were a force to be reckoned with come September.
Melbourne turned up the music in a dominant display over the Gold Coast Suns under the roof of Marvel Stadium in round 20.
Oh, he's everywhere. He's running red hot, Clayton Oliver.
A highlight was Luke Jackson's career-high 4-goal haul. Ben Brown chimed in with 4 of his own, while Max Gawn did as he pleased. Cozzy Pickett wasn't about to miss out on the fun, as the Demons broke triple figures for the first time since round 7 in a 98-point annihilation. Awaiting Melbourne at Optus Stadium in round 21 were the West Coast Eagles and wet and wild weather.
This for his 300th goal, and he's got it.
Ben Brown continued his impressive run of form with 2 early goals, the second term ending on a high when Cozzy Pickett regained the lead after the siren.
And that goes straight through the middle.
Heavy downpour brought out the best in the Demons' mid-sized forwards as the margin pushed out to 32 points. But the game changed in a flash.
There's lightning, so we're going to have to stop.
And if they're going to have to stop, then the players have got to exit the ground, surely.
A rare halt in play for 29 minutes due to the stormy conditions. When play resumed, the Eagles kicked the last 4 goals of the match. But Melbourne weathered the storm to hang on and confirm its first top 4 finish in 2 decades. Melbourne hosted Adelaide at the MCG in round 22, intent on avenging their round 10 defeat. Ben Brown yet again proved a shining light in the opening quarter, while no Crow could lay a hand on Bailey Fritsch and his fancy footwork.
Sold him some candy, sold him the whole shop.
Adelaide threatened to produce another upset, kicking 4 of the first 5 goals of the second half. But Christian Salem, Christian Petrarca and Max Gawn showed level heads to steady the ship. It was a day to remember for Fritsch, who booted the Demons' last 5 goals, including 7th heaven on the final siren.
For goal number 7 for the Magnet, and he's got it.
The minor premiership was up for grabs between Melbourne and Geelong at GMHBA Stadium in round 23. In a game of huge momentum swings, Jack Viney's snap early in the second term was followed by 8 unanswered goals from the Cats. With the margin ballooning to 44 points halfway through the third quarter, the D's dug deep to produce a stunning fight back.
3 unanswered goals. The D's are right back in this.
Max Gawn and Clayton Oliver combined masterfully in the middle. Jake Lever marshalled the troops in defence, and the forwards feasted as the margin was eroded to less than 1 straight kick.
Bailey Fritsch almost run down, kicks the goal. 5 unanswered this quarter.
And in the dying seconds, the skipper stood tall and lived out every kid's dream.
Not since 1964 have Melbourne ended the season minor premiers. And Melbourne are minor premiers. Just like that.
Well, that game against the Cats was unbelievable, and we will get to that in just a moment. But if we start with the game against the Suns, it was the first time since round 7 you scored over 100 points in a game. And despite the win coming against, I guess, a bottom 8 side, did it give you the confidence boost that you needed heading into the run home?
Yeah, no, it definitely gives you confidence for sure when you win by such a large margin, and I think it did. This was Jake Bowie's first game as well, so to get a game like that as your first game, I think that gives him a lot of confidence to know he's up at the level as well. So yeah, it just gave everyone a bit of a confidence boost, and coming into a really important time of the year. It proved pretty important, I think.
We've touched on Ben Brown as well as Tom McDonald in the forward line, but we haven't talked yet about Bailey Fritsch, who had an outstanding season. His 7 goals against the Crows, a career high, and his story really is just a great story of adversity and perseverance, having come from the Eastern Football League to the VFL and Casey, and now to the AFL. Yeah,
no, what a story he's had, and I remember watching him play for Casey Devons, earlier in my career, and then he dominated then. So the club ended up picking him up, and he's just continued to develop, continued to get better, continue to find goals in games, and he's had a terrific season this year, and kicked up most goals for the year. So super player, and just keeps getting better.
Let's talk about that game against the Cats. It's one of the best games of the season. So you're down by 44 points in that third quarter. Somehow you turn it around. What changed? What was said at three-quarter time?
I can't even remember what was said at quarter time, but the feeling out there was, when you say we're down by 44 points, I wouldn't even, and the players wouldn't have known we were down by that much. It didn't. We knew we were getting beaten, and they kicked a few goals really quickly from centre bounce in the third, I think it was. So we knew we were under the, or maybe it was the second, sorry, we were under the pump. But, there was still that belief and confidence that if we continue to chip away and try and get our game back, that, we know we can score quickly, and, if it's within a couple of goals, it's game on. So there was still belief, confidence coming in after half time, even though we were worried about some of their centre bounce goals, being piled on quite quickly. And, with the club's history down in Geelong, we have had some huge losses. So it was like a bit of a, this could go really south. But, to the group's credit, like the whole year, we just rallied together, got the game back on track, and the rest is history. I just remember being at home, sitting on the couch, watching this game, and then Max Gawn obviously takes that mark. And immediately my first thought is, oh, he's missed a couple of times from this exact or similar spot, really. Where were you, and what were you thinking? Were you backing him in to kick it? I was nervous. And it's funny you say, like, a lot of the Geelong players there were lipping at Max while he's lining up, and they were saying, you've had this shot before and you've missed it. So they were trying to get in his head, but he just went back. He looked so calm and composed. He did. That probably gave me a bit of confidence as well on the night. I was just behind him, and he kicked it, and it was pretty much like the same celebrations when we won the grand final. You just run over, grab the closest person you can, and to finish minor premiers, that was just such a great reward for effort. It doesn't guarantee you anything, in September, but it's just having great reward for, putting 23 weeks together, and finishing on top was such a special thing to celebrate with teammates, coaches, and the rest of the club. And I guess in the back of your mind, you're thinking the last time the club were minor premiers in 1964, they went on to win the flag. So a nice little, trend that was emerging. Before we get on to the final series, though, I do want to talk about the awards season, because you cleaned up as a club. We'll start with Luke Jackson winning the NAB AFL Rising Star Award. What a phenomenal season he had there. It was nearly unanimous with the 51 votes. Just his second year at AFL level. Did he exceed even your expectations? Yeah, he did. I obviously know down the track he was going to be a super player, but to have come on the scene so quickly, that did take me a little bit by surprise. even in the pre-season just gone, he did seem pretty green still. So he had plenty of development and growth, and then he got some games early in the season and just started dominating and executing his role to such a high level and giving us mids a bit more of a spark as well when he came in there. So he had a terrific season, and so excited to see how that development continues to grow.
And then we had Clayton Oliver, of course, in the midfield. He was crowned the AFL Coaches Association Champion Player of the Year. Also finished third in the Brownlow medal. As a teammate, how do you view him? Because I've heard lots of your teammates talk about him becoming much more a selfless player. Is that how you also view him?
Yeah, I see Claz as an absolutely contested animal, and what I think is his biggest strength is his will to win. If you see his performance through the course of a game, he just gets better and better as quarters go, and the last quarters, he's just dominating by then. So, just how he continues to work on his game, he's probably the most professional athlete at the football club. He'd spend the most time there, without a doubt. So, to see, people who work so hard on their game and their bodies get rewarded, and it's no coincidence, and so great to see him win a huge personal achievement in the Coaches Award.
5 All-Australians as well: Lever, May, Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver. I thought Christian Salem was probably a little bit unlucky too, because he had such a great season.
Yeah, I mean, half the All-Australian team would have been D's players if they kept going. But, so many, those boys had terrific seasons. There could have been a couple more easy, but, I think for me it's just a reminder of like the team roles, and if the team's playing well, how everyone gets recognised. So to have such a good year, you can see, Jackson, Oliver, 5 All-Australians, with a couple more that stiff to miss out, off the back of the team success. And that's what our coaches have been preaching for a few years is, once we get the team stuff, going, that's when you start getting the rewards, and it's terrific that I think players are starting to realise that now.
And speaking of the coaches, Simon Goodwin was the Coach of the Year as well, and you had a couple of changes as well to the coaching group at the start of the year, with Mark Williams coming on as Head of Development, Adam Uze coming back to the club, which was fantastic, and Mark Corrigan on as VFL Senior Coach. Just the changes in that panel, what impact did they have throughout the year?
Yeah, I think there were some, amazing changes in the coaching side of the club. I think of the Alan Richardson role, probably doesn't get talked about as much as some of the others, but that role was split into two, with Daniel McPherson taking on more of the administrative side of the GM role. But they were both so impactful, making sure that the club and the structure and the day-to-day operations of the football club allowed coaches to coach, do what they did best, allowed the medical team to do, what they do best, and kept, everyone within their roles. So, and then, Choco Williams, brings so much energy to the football club. He's obviously a jet in the development of skills as well. But I think a lot of the players, particularly younger players, gained a lot from his mentality about trying to become, the best person you can be, and not waiting, make it happen today. Uze, I work quite close with Uze, and he's been enormous. The midfield stuff has just gone from strength to strength throughout the year, and was a massive reason why we, played so well in the grand final was through the midfield. So he's had an enormous impact coming into the club for his first year.
So now we come to finals. The pre-finals bye, which has been in for the last few years, is scrapped. It's just continue on business as usual. As a playing group, were you happy to continue, given that you had this momentum through the last little part of the season?
Yeah, I think the group were really, whatever. Like if there's the bye, then
you get a breather.
We get a breather, but at the same time, we're in really strong form. So if they scrap the bye, then we're happy to keep rolling. The group was in really good shape, physically. So yeah, we're ready to just jump into it and try and keep that ball rolling.
Well, let's jump into it and take this moment to relive the qualifying final.
Melbourne began its finals campaign against the Brisbane Lions, playing host at Adelaide Oval due to Victoria's ongoing COVID concerns. Ben Brown pounced on a nerve settler early, snapping truly in the opening seconds.
Ben Brown in front, fisted away. In fact, he got it front and centre, Ben Brown. That's where he was.
An entertaining first quarter ebbed and flowed. Tom Sparrow was singing.
Off hands, Redwell, Sparrow fires, goal. Great response.
And rising star Luke Jackson lived up to the accolade on the wing.
Oh, Jackson! What about the rising star?
The Demons turned up the heat in a match-defining second quarter.
That's perfect. Fritsch has his first. The Demons have got half a dozen.
Clayton Oliver's 3 goal assists providing silver service for the forwards on the way to a 5-goal halftime lead.
To Oliver, a little fumble but backs himself, gets away from Harris Andrews. Again that dangerous ball, this time to Pickett.
Brisbane's Charlie Cameron proved a handful for Melbourne's backline.
This has got Charlie's name written all over it. Goal number 4.
And Lachie Neale's finals record 46 disposals kept the margin to 19 points at the final break. As they'd done for much of the season, the D's found an extra gear when they needed it most.
Bailey Fritsch, oh what a mark that was.
The class of Bailey Fritsch was integral with a 4-goal performance.
Bailey Fritsch, can he deliver again? You bet he can, he's got 4.
While Christian Petrarca was on target with twin killer blows in a matter of minutes deep into the match.
Now a chance, Petrarca back-to-back goals.
Jake Lever's game-high 15 intercepts, a key factor in restricting Brisbane's top-ranked forward line to its second lowest score of the season. Melbourne's 33-point win locking in a preliminary final and confirmed its status as premiership favourite.
What really struck me, Jack, after that win was there wasn't an over-celebration. It was a really mature celebration. It looked like you guys were just on a mission. It was like, tick, this job's done, on to the next. Was that what it was like internally?
Yeah, no, you're right. We were over there to get a job done, and you know, this was a great start. I think as well, we really were up the whole game, and so knowing that, you know, coming into last, that, you know, we've kind of felt safe. You don't have that real exhalation of relief and after the game, so you don't you know, seem to look like you're carrying on a bit too much after the game. But yeah, we really were on a job, and yeah, we were confident going into that game. It was great to put together a you know, four-quarter performance against a, you know, top-notch team.
Clayton Oliver again, fantastic. 33 disposals, 7 clearances, 10 score involvements. He really resembled, I guess, the growth as a club, because since his last final series and that campaign back in 2018. But the midfield, it was a phenomenal team effort there, because Lachie Neale had 46 touches and was outstanding, but you still managed to get on top as a group.
Yeah, you know, like I mentioned, you know, we felt really safe throughout this game. You know, Lachie was obviously racking up the touches, but we felt like our system was really strong, and, you know, we never really felt threatened on the scoreboard. So we just kept going with our system and our structure, and you know, it paid off in the end.
The other intriguing part of this contest was the number 1 attack up against the number 1 defence, and Charlie Cameron, I guess, caused some headaches early on in the game, but then it was Jake Lever, as we heard in that package, 15 intercept possessions. He stood up. Trent Rivers, Christian Salem, also really crucial. Coming into this game, that would have been a big focus, is keeping those forwards under wraps and not letting them get that momentum.
Yeah, you know, Charlie was worrying. You know, whenever it went inside 50, he looked quite dangerous, and a couple of times when they got it out over the back, he would score off the goal. So I'm sure the defenders had a talking to, maybe at quarter time or half time, and you know, for Jake Lear to have 15 intercept possessions, it's quite a crazy figure. So yeah, it's just guys stepping up when the moment required, and, you know, that's what finals football is. And, you know, Jake Lever, you know, standing up is, you know, why he's such a good player.
I know D's fans breathed a big sigh of relief after getting this qualifying win under wraps. I was more concerned about Luke Jackson and his tooth, because he already had a fake tooth coming into this game and now he's lost another one. Did he ever find it? What happened?
Yeah, I think he found it. They tried putting it back in at the ground. He went and saw a dentist and they tried chucking it back in, but it didn't work. So he ended up having to get a little guard made up with 2 fake teeth. So, I mean, he's an interesting character and it didn't faze him too much.
Nothing phases him. Does he not play with a mouth guard?
Oh, he didn't, and I'm pretty sure he rocked up for the first training session without a mouth guard, and we're all saying to him, mate, go get your mouth guard. Yeah, I think his mum probably had a fair talking to him after that game.
I'm sure she did. So with the job done in Adelaide, attention turned to a preliminary final in the West, Optus Stadium, the scene of the Demons' last preliminary final. That one, a horror show back in 2018 against the Eagles. Melbourne, though, were intent on not letting the demons of the past come back to haunt them.
Melbourne renewed hostilities with Geelong at Optus Stadium for a place in the grand final. Simon Goodwin had his men primed, and it showed. After Cats forward Jeremy Cameron struck the first blow, the Demons' pressure overwhelmed their experienced opposition, translating into an early buffer on the scoreboard.
This is some sort of a night if you're a Demons supporter.
Then came a major scare as Stephen May emerged from a marking contest clutching his hamstring. Despite being hampered in his mobility, May returned to the field to assist Jake Lever and Harrison Petty in taming Geelong's 3-headed monster. When Charlie Spargo kicked goals either side of the first interval, the growing belief in the Demons camp was evident. An inspirational running snap from Max Gawn initiated one of the great individual performances in finals history.
Around the corner, they've got 8.
The captain exploded in an irresistible third quarter, kicking 4 of his career-high 5 goals to make the margin 70 points and fueling the hopes and dreams of Melbourne fans. A near flawless 30 minutes summed up through one untouchable centre clearance.
Handball inside to Gawn, 55 metres, takes out the driver, sets sail for home.
Geelong was kept to a solitary goal in the second half, thanks to the Demons' unwavering focus. Jack Viney saved his best for the penultimate fixture, racking up a season-high 34 disposals in a stoppage masterclass by his team. Cozzy Pickett putting an exclamation mark on a powerful message to the remaining contenders.
The snap, the joy, the roar.
It was an incredible game, so many storylines out of this preliminary final, but my mind always comes back to the outpouring of emotion from not just the players out on the field, but also from those who are watching on in the stands, Adam Tomlinson, Nathan Jones and those guys.
Yeah, no, I remember, some of our players ran on after the game, as you see here, and Cade Chandler, he had tears in his eyes and was quite emotional. So it was, really special to be part of it, and to get into a grand final, it's something we work so hard to, to do, and you get an opportunity of winning a flag, and I think everyone had just realised what we'd done and the opportunity in front of us. So. A lot of different emotions, from celebrations to, Nathan Jones, for example, potentially missing out on a grand final when he's worked so hard his whole career to be in that position. So, and then there's obviously Maisie as well, who looked like he'd hurt himself as well.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to that in just a moment. But Max Gawn, what can we say? I mean, that performance, just one of the best individual performances I can remember seeing in a final. He's snapping goals like he's Cozzy Pickett here, and then kicking that bomb from 50 as well. I think you were the one that sort of lifted him up there at the end in that celebration. I mean, it was just phenomenal. Like, when you see a performance like that, do you just sit back in awe a little bit? Yeah,
you just shake your head. Everything Maxie did was just turning into gold, and like this big chase down tackle, he ended up gaining an extra 10 kilometres per hour of speed on his max speed. But he just had a phenomenal quarter and game to really stamp his leadership on the team and the competition, and we got the boys pretty fired up for the grand final.
Yeah, I can imagine. So he was doing his thing, kicking goals and outrageous. But the midfield was so dominant as well, because you scored 101 points from clearances, which is the 4th most ever recorded. It was some performance. What I want to know is just take me into the mindset of the group before the game.
Yeah, I think, we obviously knew we were coming up Geelong, and we rated them extremely highly. So it was all about preparation. We had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, to bring the best versions of ourselves, come fit, healthy, and that's what we did. And it was shocking to see the score in the end. We wouldn't have thought it was going to be like that at all. Every game we play against Geelong's pretty close. So can't believe it's just unfolded the way it did.
And you mentioned Stephen May, of course. There's always one grand final injury watch story every year, and Stephen May was that in 2021. Were you nervous when he went off? I know he came back on, but did you sort of think, oh gosh, what's happening here?
Yeah, I wasn't so nervous at the game, because he seemed pretty calm.
Okay.
So I was like, nah, Maisie's not the kind of character to miss this. But then I was like, a couple of days later, I was like, I got nervous because I was like, what if he hurts it in the grand final? That's when I was like, that could be an issue, because we'd obviously have to have someone come in, and that could cause some headaches for us. So I was just checking in with the medical staff, saying, make sure he's right to go, and he was fine, and he dominated. So
yeah,
no
he
dramas.
did, with a 6 centimetre tear, which is just outrageous in itself. So you win your way into the club's first grand final since 2000, and then you have to wait. I think for D's fans, it was sort of an agonising 2-week wait. What was it like for the players?
It was the same. It was an agonising 2-week wait, and that first week where the coaches and Richo, they gave us a couple of days off earlier in the week to just rest up, enjoy the moment, and it was almost worse doing nothing, because you just have the thoughts of playing in a grand final and the outcome. You replay the game in your head. You can't sleep at night. So the first few days after that game were agonising, but as soon as our training started back and we got back into the swing of training and meetings and that kind of stuff, it started to just feel like another week, a little bit more pressure, but it just felt good to be back training and working towards the game.
What I really loved, I guess, about looking from the outside was that you guys really seemed to embrace the history of the club. So the fact that you hadn't won a flag in so long, the Norm Smith curse, all of those things, you were open to talk about it and really embracing of the fact. That was a focus, and was that really intentional?
It might have been intentional from the media, the crew, but internally there wasn't too much spoken about the Norm Smith curse, for example. Like, it was mentioned, over the dinner table, but in terms of like Goody bringing it up in meetings or anything like that, it was all business. But Goody's messaging was just embrace that expectation and embrace the pressure. It's his message for a couple of weeks during the finals was pressure is a privilege. We've earned the right to have this expectation put on the football club. So enjoy it, because it doesn't come around too often. And I think the guys really likened to that and embrace the whole situation that the AFL Grand Final in Western Australia brought to us.
Obviously didn't have too many players who had played in a grand final before. Jake Lever was one when he was at the Adelaide Crows, but your dad played in a grand final back in 1988. Did you go to him? We've got some vision here, but did you ask him for any advice on how to handle, I guess, the big stage in that regard?
Yeah, well, it wasn't actually a couple of years ago I found, till a couple of years ago I found out Dad actually played in a grand final. He never really spoke to me about it. He loves telling me about all of his other
it wasn't really
achievements,
a memorable day,
but
I guess.
I think this is a bit of a touchy subject for in his career. I think he was quite young, maybe a first or second year at the footy club, but they had a shocking result. But you know, Dad's obviously been involved in grand finals before with Hawthorn and coaching, and you know, he definitely had some advice, you know, for me, and it was just all about keeping things simple. You know, it's not a bigger occasion in terms of my role and what I need to do on the day. So just embrace it and put my brand on show, essentially.
You had 10 players this year who played every single game. I think Melbourne only used 34 players on the list all season. It's really remarkable that you're able to consistently have your best players out there, and I'm sure Darren Burgess played a really big part of that in terms of that high performance. Yeah,
I don't think this can be underestimated. You know, what this contributed to our success this year is, you know, when you've got every guy playing, you know, majority of your list playing consistently together with no injuries, healthy, you know, that goes a long way to, you know, being performing consistently. So, you know, the work, you know, Darren Burgess, Selwyn Griffiths, David Regan, you know, all our medical team, you know, Brendan Eagleston and Dan James at the football club, they put in a power of effort to get these players up and going every single week. And it's a you know, 24/7 dealing with athletes, and you know, like I was you know, meeting up with physios on Sunday mornings when, you know, it's supposed to be their days off, but they just go above and beyond to you know, let us do what we want to do and achieve something special, and they probably don't get the recognition for it. So yeah, no, big shout out to Burjo and his team. Yeah, it really is a team effort with everyone involved at the club. Well, after an unusually long build-up, it was finally time for Melbourne's biggest test. Fans in the West snapping up tickets to be part of a historic grand final at Perth's Optus Stadium. The D's on the cusp of breaking a 57-year premiership drought. The Bulldogs, the final hurdle on the path to a grand old flag.
The biggest game on the AFL calendar would be played away from the MCG for the second year running, with Perth's spectacular Optus Stadium taking centre stage for the D's and Dogs Premiership Showdown. Two of the competition's strongest midfields refused to take a backward step at the opening bounce.
Gawn went back and found it, and then Oliver got taken in a really good tackle.
A footy that hot required sure hands, and a pair of Christians gained a grasp on the Sherrin to create the opening goal.
Petrarca within range off the step. Christian goes bang!
Cozzy Pickett's relentless pressure forced an error, and Charlie Spargo made Bailey Williams pay.
Straight to Jackson. Goal coming up, Demons. Spargo dribbles it through.
Before another moment to forget for the Dogs defender opened the door for Bailey Fritsch.
Missed the mark, did Williamson. The goal is there for Fritsch. It's falling the way of the Demons.
21 points ahead at quarter time, the first momentum shift of the game saw Melbourne concede 6 goals to 1 in the second quarter.
Treloar with the snap. Perfect start, Dogs.
Adam Treloar and Marcus Bontempelli reminding the football world that the Dogs had navigated their way to the grand final from outside the top 4.
Maybe 4 goals to 1 in the second for the Dogs. It is indeed.
When Bontempelli snapped his third goal 12 minutes into the third quarter, the writing was on the wall for the Demons.
Look out, Bontempelli. Oh, this is some game he's playing.
Staring down the rampaging Dogs, history and a 19-point deficit, Melbourne flipped the game on its head, led by its own superstar, Christian Petrarca.
Here's another look. Long one, Petrarca. Benny Brown. There we are.
Fritsch marked and Cooley slotted the goal, then struck again from the next centre clearance.
Here they come. Petrarca. Long ball. Fritsch over the back. Recovers and goals. He kicks it. Fritsch has got more.
A courageous Angus Brayshaw threw himself in harm's way, and when his set shot sailed through, the D's were back in front. Petrarca cemented his place in finals folklore as the central figure in a magnificent minute of flag-winning football. A dribbling gem from the pocket brought the crowd to its feet and others to tears.
Petrarca. Petrarca. Oh, wow. How good is that?
Followed by quick-fire centre clearances and goals for Tom Sparrow and Clayton Oliver. Suddenly, the lead was out to 4 goals.
Surely not another one. Handball to Oliver. Streaming through. Bang! Bang, bang, bang!
The Dogs were no match for the rampant Demons attack, which piled on 9 goals to 1 in the final term, and in doing so, registered their highest score of the season. Joining the goal-kicking party were Alex Neil-Bullen, Ed Langdon and Luke Jackson.
And everything's going through. Everything's going through.
While Fritsch feasted to become the first player to kick 6 goals in a grand final since Darren Jarman in 1997.
After 57 long years, the Demons are premiers.
Tom McDonald's goal after the siren provided the icing on the sweetest cake of all. An outpouring of emotion as Melbourne broke a 57-year premiership drought to win flag number 13.
And just like that, the drought was over. What a day, what a grand final performance. You said you hadn't watched back the grand final yet. How did you feel watching that little highlights package?
I had a few little butterflies. You know, the half time when the Doggies were really on a rampage brought back some nerves, but to see how the boys responded and that little pile-on of goals at the end of the third, and then the fourth quarter was pretty much kind of party time and waiting for the siren to sing.
I want to take you back to the start of the day. You wake up, it's a long time to wait. Well, it was in Melbourne in particular.
Yeah.
We had to wait till night, but it's a nervous wait. What were you like? Did you feel a bit ill in the morning?
Yeah, I was nervous. I was feeling pretty good all week leading up to the game, and then I woke up and I was in all sorts, extremely nervous. I normally meditate the day of games, and it was probably the worst meditation I've ever had. And it's a bit earlier in Perth. We're 3 hours before in front of Melbourne time. So we got going around 3 o'clock, on the bus to the ground. So it wasn't too bad by the time we got up. Went for our team walk, had brekkie, had lunch. It was pretty much ready to get on the bus and head to the ground.
And when you're out there, you're warming up. I think there was a shot of you, during the national anthem, you're staring off into space a little bit. Do you remember even what's going through your mind at that point? You're just so focused on the task ahead.
I think it was, there's actually like this seating, there's like these seats up the very top of Optus.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, I wonder if that's actually any good to watch the game. Because there's people in harnesses up there sitting down. I think that's what I was looking at.
I love that. Now, the third quarter, you mentioned it. I mean, Marcus Bontempelli kicks that his third goal, and you're staring down the barrel of a 19-point deficit. Were you genuinely concerned about how you were going to stop this momentum and turn the game back?
Yeah, I was a little bit worried. Doggies obviously such a good team, and their guns were firing and they were getting momentum. And then at half time, some of the guys were flat, and then some of the guys, leaders were trying to compensate for that flatness and try and get everyone up and about. So I was like, I'm not sure about the feeling in the change rooms at half time, but just from the guys' actions in that third quarter, just got everyone calm. And then when you've got momentum, it's like you just want to keep it going. So everyone, you're streaming out of stoppages. It was just crazy the pile-on of goals in such short time frame.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, in the back of your mind, you always have the fact that, a few weeks ago against Geelong, we were 44 points down. Like, we can come back from anywhere. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And, centre bounce goals, that Geelong game, the Geelong still quickly through centre bounce. The Brisbane game was, heaps of stoppage goals, 100 points of stoppage goals in the Geelong game. So we felt it in the midfield particular, it was like, well, if we need to turn the game around, this is where it can happen. And obviously with the talent we've got in there with Maxi, Petrarca and Oliver, it was let's make this happen, and boys just got to work.
I mean, Christian Petrarca, it was like he was born to play on the big stage and perform like he did, winning the Norm Smith medal. What is it like to play alongside someone like that?
Oh yeah, you know, similar to you know, shaking my head at Gorney's third quarter against Geelong. You know, most weeks I'm just shaking my head at some of the stuff this bloke does, and he does it every week. So, you know,
I mean, that goal there, that's ridiculous. He had no right to kick that.
Yeah, that was crazy. No, he's a super talent, super work ethic, and you know, great bloke, and he was so deserving of that award that night. I can't believe he had almost, you know, 40 touches and a couple of goals, and he was just super.
Well, he nearly broke the record because at the end of the game, he had an extra possession. So he had broken the record for the most touches in a grand final, breaking Simon Black's in 2003. And then Champion Data
took it off.
Took one disposal off him. So he's equalled the record.
You just let that one slide.
I know, surely. Now, it's crazy to think that you can kick 6 goals in a grand final and not even be the best player on the ground. But that was Bailey Fritsch. I mean, we talked about him earlier. I mean, 59 goals for the season. What I love about this leading goal kicker tally, though, is just the even spread of contribution that you had across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you've got a few midfielders in there as well as your forwards, so such an even contribution from the group, and yeah, Bailey had a sensational year and topped it off with 6 goals in the grand final. It was interesting to hear the stat that it was the first time it's happened since 1990 something. It was pretty crazy from a guy who got drafted out of the you know, VFL and even in the country leagues.
And his hair never moved an inch the whole time. It's like he's got perfect hair. What is with that?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to get that product off him, but yeah, it looks good.
Now, post game, is it just a blur? I mean, you probably can't even really remember, like, you getting your medals and, you know, seeing the Premiership Cup. It must just be all a bit of a blur, like you're hugging Goody there.
Yeah, just having a bit of a D&M there with Goody and letting him know how, you know, appreciative I am of him coming to the football club and everything he's done for me. But yeah, it is a little bit of a blur from the time we kind of, you know, get off, and then I actually got drug tested straight after the game, so I'm singing the song and then straight into getting drug tested. And I've got family there, so it was all such a whirlwind. Yeah, it probably wasn't until you know, a good few hours after the game where we were really just able to you know, soak it all in.
You're going around with the cup now. I noticed that Christian Salem pretty much always had the cup in his hand at some point. It was like he was the cup hog.
Yeah, and he kept jumping up in the stands too. Like, I thought he did it once. I was like, oh, he must know, you know, the people on the fence. And then he was doing it every 10 metres.
Yeah.
And I just went up and grabbed it off him at some point and said, all right, mate, you've had enough.
Did you manage to get a quiet moment to yourself when it was all sort of done in the rooms afterwards? Call anyone, do anything like that?
Yeah, I did. I FaceTimed Mum, Dad and Charlotte back home in Melbourne. I was alone in the change rooms while everyone was celebrating. So I was able to get a FaceTime in with them, which was pretty special and sad at the same time, you know, them not being able to be there and celebrate, you know, the peak of your career when they've experienced the lows with you. It was a bittersweet feeling.
You mentioned them not being able to be there. Nathan Jones, obviously, not able to be there. Neil Danaher was the other one who's been such a big part of this club, and he tweeted this photo of him watching. He would have been so proud of the club, but it would have been nice to share it with everyone, wouldn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, Neil's had such a massive impact on the football club. You know, we had his quotes, some of his quotes posted up in the change rooms on the day of the grand final. So, you know, he's had an enormous influence on the playing group and the football club over a long period of time. And, you know, to achieve something so special, you know, for people like that, it's... yeah, still can't believe it. 57 years in the making, and we finally achieved it. Oh,
it's incredible, and as it should, the celebrations continued well into the night, and then the next few days in Perth. We've got some vision here. Who was best on ground with these post-grand final celebrations?
Best ons. James Harms is always up there. You can see Gorney is on some of the shoulders. You know, some of our young guys that, you know, you can see Harmsy there having a dance.
Does he rate himself a little bit?
Oh, he rates his shuffling skills. He actually thinks he can sing too, so he always belts out of tune. But some of our young guys they actually didn't play on that game, but they made the most of the celebrations just as much as the rest of us. So they were in fine form, the young boys.
And I thought I saw a photo as well of Simon Goodwin on Max Gawn's shoulders. That's pretty high up.
Yeah, Goody, he loves the celebration too. So it was great to see him, in amongst it, post the game as well, because he has built such strong relationships and invested so heavily into this football club, to reap the rewards and, just enjoy that moment with the players. I think that's something really special, and I certainly won't forget it.
And now the Cup is back in Melbourne from Perth, and I guess in some ways, for some people anyway, the attention has already turned to 2022, because I believe Christian Petrarca was down at the club training already. What's with that?
You probably chucked it up on Instagram or something, but most of the boys will be back into training, and we actually start our training program tomorrow. So it's 2 weeks off, and we're back into training already. It's there is still unfinished business. We've achieved one, but to not be able to do it in front of our home fans at the MCG, that does leave us a hole in our heart that we need to fill. So there's plenty of motivation to run it back and give it another red hot crack.
That will be music to all the D's fans watching this DVD right now. Well, Jack, it was an incredible season. We've all been so privileged to watch this Melbourne side go about their business, and you've brought so much joy to so many people. So thank you for coming in today and sharing your insights and reliving a very special year with us.
Thanks, Nat.
Well, who knows what is in store for season 2022, but for now, Melbourne fans, enjoy the grand old flag.